Section 24 Legends of the Hermit. Men, so it was once said, make their own monsters as well as their heroes. While not strictly true in such a time as the Age of Strife, the human urge to mythologize the mysterious and the unbelievable is equally strong in this period. Stories are traded amongst the starfarers or between huddled families hiding in the dark and cold. Through the countless millions of refugee camps across the galaxy, whispered with dry lips into the ears of equally miserable and terrified people. Courts surrounding the affluent petty imperators were no different, as uneasy rumors and tales passed with subtle undertones throughout the courtly proceedings. One of the most prevalent of these legends is that of the Hermit, known as the Six Hermits, or the Wandering One, depending on which sector stories you listen to. Variations of this rumored being crop up from the Segmentum Obscurus all the way to the barter worlds of the far fringe, where human life is a mere commodity of various Xenos overlords. Though these tales often differ greatly, the infamous Hermit character seems to share several similarities. A large cowl or hood obscuring his features, shabby clothing, piercing eyes, and apparently possessing miraculous, possibly warp-bound powers. In the Segmentum Solar, the Hermit is a sort of folk hero. On the planet of Ch'nair, the Hermit came to the rescue of the Cenarian when their overlord, a former Inquisitor calling himself Malvice, began to terrorize and oppress them terribly. The Hermit arrived, and within weeks the entire planet was in revolt as his oratory skills swayed the people against their false tyrant. Former Inquisitor Malvice sent a battalion of soldiers to murder the Hermit in the forest cave he called home. The Hermit, using skill alongside insane strength and speed, destroyed the army. Survivors fled, screaming of a black beast haunted by the Hermit's form. At the height of the demonstrations, as the people united against Malvice and besieged his capital, the desperate Inquisitor unleashed his hardiest warriors, a 20-strong band of Marines malevolent. The callous, evil Marines butchered hundreds in their fury, diving through the crowd like mad zealots. Then came the Hermit. Hidden by the bulging crowd, he managed to sneak into the capital unnoticed. As the Marines prepared their final assault, he lunged forth, snatching the Thunderhammer from the Astari's leader and dashing his head from his shoulders before laying into the other Marines. As the Marines were battled back, the crowds grew in courage and charged the gates as one, smashing them from their hinges and flooding the capital. Malvice was defeated, and the people cheered. However, the Hermit was gone. Another world, in the Segmentum Solar, was attacked by despoiled regiments from the Western Chaos Imperium, who pulverized their capital and demanded surrender. However, a Hermit began preaching a creed of salvation and unification. Thus, the people rejected the devilish soldiers who decided to punish the non-Chaos Imperials directly. The bat-winged Apostle Grassus, Underlord Champion of Sector Kylus of the Chaos Imperium, descended on his dreadful pinions, leading evil Cadians from the front. However, when confronted, the people of the world were armed with fantastic weapons fashioned by the Hermit himself, and held back the rampaging hordes. They could not vanquish Grassus, who merely laughed as their flamers and hypercannons rippled across his demonically invincible flesh. He slew thousands, his scythe reaping a bloody toll amongst the people. When all seemed to fail, the Hermit emerged. Demon and hero wrestled as the Hermit battled the bat-like horror from tower to tower. At last, the Hermit unleashed a heavy blast from his flamer. Grassus laughed again, as the flames rippled across him harmlessly. However, he was never the intended target. As the beast laughed, the Hermit seized him in an iron grip and forced the molten superalloy down the monster's vile gullet. With a howl, the thing was banished, and the despoiled, leaderless, chose to fight to the death. The Hermit didn't disappoint, as he and the defenders overran and slew them all. And so on, across the entire Segmentum Solar and Pacificus, we can infer several interesting points about this Hermit from these many tales. Overall, he is phenomenally strong, able to wrestle a demon prince and even tackle an adult Ambul in one of the legends of Inut. He is also claimed to be a giant, anywhere from 90 feet tall to merely 7 feet. He seems to be near an Astartes height in most of these stories, and thus I feel confident in speculating that he is some form of space marine renegade whose deeds have been exaggerated, as all heroes are. In particular, This seems like the modus operandi of the Salamander chapter, since they shattered into nearly individual units after the Imperator fell. It is likely that perhaps these hermits are squads of salamanders, claiming to be a single mighty figure. The frequent depictions of the hermit being a black beast would seem to support this. The mysterious figure of the hermit seems to alter radically in the legends of Segmentum Obscurus. In these legends, he is a sinister being who moves unseen through society, murdering or mutilating witches and psychers at random. That makes this depiction particularly ambiguous. Sometimes the psychers in question are tyrannical puppet masters, dominating their mortal minions, and the hermit is a liberator. Others, he is shown to be a bizarre butcher, randomly murdering otherwise innocent psychers and witches, often dooming the planets in question. This hermit is not a giant, in fact, often depicted as a frail being, but still seems to perform feats beyond a mortal, such as removing all the air in a room to evade Arbites, ripping a Reaver Titan in half. Even if the Reaver in question was damaged, as the story suggests, the power needed to destroy something that large must be phenomenal, or killing with a gesture. I suggest that a group of intensely puritanical inquisitors, aided by significant resources, may be the source of the legend. One being surely couldn't be so powerful. The Ultima Segmentum also has numerous hermit myths. In some, he is armed, others unarmed. His cowl goes from deep blue or gray through to bone white, or a deep blackened hue. His height fluctuates as much as his objectives. In the south, near to Grand Sicarium and the Ulfian Ping conglomerate, the hermit seems to be a master huntsman, stalking wrongdoers with his hunting bow. These merge eerily well with similar legends of Telion and his hooded company, and could well be a case of stories merging into an amalgam. How can a mortal tell the difference between a reaper soul, a watcher in the dark, fallen, or cowed warrior zealots, especially during an intense firefight? The northern hermit seems completely non-violent, healing the ill and dying, and preaching word of the third path, the path of moderation. She has never been associated with any warmongering activities. The northeastern hermit legend tells of a different tale, a lithe woman, cowled in shimmering cowls of black silk, as a widow. She brings death to any who do not pray to the Emperor for his rebirth. Children are frightened by bedtime tales of the widow hermit, the cowled crone of the north. Thus, we see that, perhaps, there is no one hermit, but perhaps several stories, overlapping and influencing each other, as the stories are retold over and over. However, one thing upsets this theory. Almost unanimously, the tales have an element of destiny to them. No matter the locale, no matter the local dialect or previous myths, each legend mentions the world named War, and how the hermit is traveling slowly towards this mythical place. How so many diverse cultures, many of which could not possibly contact each other due to warp storms and lack of the Astronomicon, came up with, word for word, the exact same phrase over and over, suggests something disturbing, especially in light of the events known to have occurred upon the planet of Armageddon.